Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
Are we live?
Yes. And
Okay.
This is your opportunity to speak to the world.
Thank you so much, Mom Naima. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Cicely McClennon, and you are in tune with From Seed to Systems. It's hosted here by the Female Solution, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to come on and have a stable place to continue to share stories and insights and information about how African people are building right now in the U.S., the diaspora, worldwide, including on the continent of Africa. And so since we are part of that building, this is a tremendous opportunity and platform for us to be able to come and share our personal experience as well as our technical expertise and just continue building and strengthening those bonds and reconnecting with our roots, not just for a superficial show, but a real deep connection that bears fruit for our generation and beyond. So today we're expecting any moment we'll have a guest who had recently traveled to Ghana as part of a group, and they were sharing dance and music. And so we look forward to hearing from him on that a little bit later. Thank you so much, Mom Naima, for joining me to introduce our guest and to introduce this podcast. This is our first time chiming in. So we're working in the back room feverishly, making sure everything is, in tip-top shape. But I had a question. Am I cueing this video?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. And for our audience who's watching, many of us have never traveled outside the U.S. Many have never been to the continent, and it's an extremely emotional experience because we know how we got here. Many of us whose ancestors came here unwillingly, coming back and seeing the beauty of nature and seeing the landscape, it really does awaken something in your heart. And our guest today is going to share some of his experiences and the group's experiences as they entered the motherland. And so let's take a look at a video. And this is a river that many Americans visit when they come back to Africa, when they visit Ghana, and they have that experience of realizing what we left behind. And it is quite an emotional moment for many who are sometimes after a trip choosing to repatriate. So let's take a look at this beautiful image and remember that we are the people who have come from this beautiful land of Africa. Here we are.
That was an amazing and deeply touching piece. It literally brought tears to my eyes. Um, as one who has stood in the door of no return and laughed with the joy that what was meant for us, it was never to be the way that it was intended. We have returned, we can return. And as being a part of that experience many times with my family and other people that I've helped and bring into Ghana in particular, that piece, it really touched me. It really touched me deeply. Every time you visit these sacred moments, you never know. You never you never know um, how you're going to respond to it. And for me, when I visit the dungeons, I don't call them castles, I don't call them mansions, I don't call them anything but what they were. I call them dungeons. And every time I visit, there's a different and deep response. The first time I visited, just to share a quick story about visiting Elmina and the Cape Coast dungeons, my son, one of them was about 4 or 5 years old, and he had ran off from the tour, and we were deeply immersed in the tour and low key lost track of him. So we're walking around looking for my son, and he had joined in with the drummers and just started drumming. You know, every time I go, it reaches another depth and a deeper part of my spirit. There's not been one person that I know that have made this trek that did not say the words, "My spirit is refreshed. My drive and my heart is renewed." So that's on the emotional side of it, and to me, that's part of the seed. Now we want to take that seed, of course, and use that emotional energy to move us into a life and a vibrancy and a thriving place for us. And so that is why we don't show up to Ghana. We're not tourists. We call it tour, we call it vacation, you call it whatever you want to, but you saw the video. It's much deeper than that. There's no one else coming to Africa that's going to feel the way we feel when we return. And so, and I feel it deeply that I have ancestors who have been able to vocalize their intention in their heart about wanting to just touch the land before they die. And I stand when I'm there on the land and I consider and I think about my ancestors who for hundreds of years wanted to return and to be that one at this time. It's nothing but pure joy, gratitude, and power in that moment. And so that video, that it touched me, if you guys can't tell. So moving forward, I would like to just I
Yes.
guess talk a little bit more about some of my experiences in being on the land. I was just explaining to someone that I actually had had to attend a funeral to bury my late husband in Ghana.
Mm.
Just being on the Gulf of Guinea, and I was at
Oh,
the time at One Africa Resort, and the Gulf of Guinea is right on the coast, literally. You can hear the waves washing up against the shore in your sleep. And Mama Imikis provided me with some therapy. And we went out, and she said, now you have to let it out.
wow. So
And
how did you let it out? What was that experience like, expressing all
I
the emotions?
screamed, I screamed, I screamed right at the edge of the ocean. And to be honest with you guys, the things that happened after that, I felt like it was a clearing, a rejuvenation, and it just gave me what I needed to move forward as a young widow and a mother of young children at that time. It was power in that moment. And since then, I don't visit the dungeons without going to the ocean afterwards to cleanse and to discharge and to reconnect, because it's a lot to take in. My last experience at the dungeon, at the Cape Coast, I put a couple of pictures up here. We'll be looking at those later. But it was a profound spiritual moment for me where I literally felt in tune with the spirits and the ancestors who had moved through that dungeon. And so I cannot, that's my personal experience. And I'd like to open it up to Mr. Ricky Hurdle to let's get into more of his personal experience and just really
Yes, we're going to bring him on.
take the opportunity to, it's one thing for you to experience it, but I love connecting with other people who have not, who may be a little afraid. They may be feeling, just too much misinformation, disinformation, propaganda that makes us fearful of travel in general and travel, especially to the motherland. So with that
Yes.
being said, the more voices that we can get and the experience that you can share, I'm looking forward to Mr. Ricky Hurdle. Thank you, my brother, for being available. Thank you for taking the opportunity to move in tune and to represent for your ancestors and stand on the land. Thank you for being available this afternoon to come and share that video that you guys made. It was profound, it was touching, and very emotionally charged. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
What was the question?
Well, it wasn't a question. I was just extending a greetings and thanking you for joining us. That's the first thing.
Okay, so you wanted
And
to
maybe as we bring up some images, you can tell us what was happening and tell us about this recent trip and what was happening in these.
Yeah, I'd like to go through the images and and if you could briefly just introduce, because we've been talking about the emotional aspect of touching the land and how you felt when you got there, as well as some of the emotions that went through you as you were going through this experience in Ghana.
Okay. The first thing I noticed, and I had been to Egypt before last year, And Egypt was an experience. They welcomed us with open arms, but Ghana was just a lot different because it was all us. You know, not knocking the Arab Egyptians. I mean, they welcomed us too, but it's just that, you know, this is us. You know, it was
You could
all,
tell.
yeah, it was all black people, and they welcomed us with open arms. It was like we were long lost relatives. You know, there was no negativity. There was no nothing. Everything was just love and humbleness and joy and just, you know, like I said, welcomed us with open arms. That was very spiritual. That was very eye opening. And then just the different places we visited, it was it was amazing. I mean, I knew a lot of the history of slavery. I knew a lot of what went on in the castles. I don't even call them castles, in the dungeons and whatever.
Yes, sir.
But to be there in the experience, in the actual, you know, building, the actual structure, and know that what our ancestors went through in there was really very emotional. But what really did it was, even already knowing it, when the guy was talking to us, we all went into the room, and he was saying there was anywhere from 100 to 200 or whatever people in this one place. And he closed the door and he turned out the lights, and it was done. It was like, wow, you know, just real touching, real, very emotional, very emotional. A lot of people broke down.
Yeah, I can imagine. The last time I was there, the tour guide was talking about one of the tombs of one of the former Portuguese or Dutch,
Right, right.
enslaver.
Mm-hmm.
And I paused the entire tour and spit on his grave in
I
front
hear
of
that.
everybody.
I hear
That was a day for me. I was in that kind of mood. So
that.
you never know what's gonna come out when you visit. And
Right.
like I was saying in the intro, every time I'm there in the dungeon, I have a whole different experience. So I definitely identify with that. I also noticed that this particular tour, you guys made it accessible for people in wheelchairs. Can you just talk a little bit about the type of group that you were in terms of the ages and physical capacity and that type of thing, and how that worked?
Okay, the group is called Sankofa Soul, and we're basically um, a house music. What would you call it? A house music group. We started out doing parties, you know, local parties, and then it grew and grew, and then we decided to do take it to different countries, which I don't think a lot of people had done before. So 2 3 years ago, we went to Costa Rica. Then the following year, we went to I always forget the name of these places. Um, I can't remember right now. The last year we went to Curacao. The year before that we went to St. Lucia. Yeah, okay. And then we decided on trying to do Africa, and we put the word out with people that had traveled with us before, and it sold out in 5 hours. We got
Wow.
we had a limit of, like, we took 315 people to Curacao. But the first time when we went to Costa Rica, it was like 150. Then the second trip we did, it was like 200 and change. That was St.
Oh,
Louis.
wow.
Then Costa Rica, I mean Curacao, it was 315, I think it was. So we got together and we decided it's too many people to take. Well, first we were going to try and do whatever we could in Ghana, but then they got with the tour guides. I forget the name of the company, but the brother, his name is Atuk,
Okay.
Atuk Soba, Atuk
Okay.
Soba. Right. We got with him, and between Charmaine, who the her and DJ Ceres started the group. Between the two of them, they sat with him and said, how many people could we work with, comfortably, bringing them to Ghana. And you supply all the buses and all the excursions and stuff. So the number they came up with was 200. So we ended up taking like 213.
Wow.
But like I said, it sold out in 5 hours. We were shocked. So that's basically what it was. A bunch of house heads going on a spiritual journey. And so there was music involved. We had, I think, 12 or 13 DJs. We had a lot of different parties going on in different places. Um, but then it was also, like you said, the spiritual journey coming. It was a pilgrimage, basically. So
I'm really curious about the I saw people in wheelchairs in that first image, and I really want to talk a little bit about that because I too have brought um, people with certain disabilities to Ghana, and a
mhm.
lot of people don't book trips because they think that they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to access things. So I was really curious about that piece in particular.
Well, they got with the transportation people and found out, what was doable.
Right.
And some of the people that were in wheelchairs were basically family members of people that was traveling. Some people, they were lucky to get in, and they wanted to come. So we couldn't turn
Yeah.
them down
So
as long as we could, accommodate them.
yes, sir. And I really appreciate that about the tour. What other pictures do we have here, Naima? I want to just kind of go. Okay, so this is so when you guys said that you were having parties, how was that work? Were you guys just kind of at a hotel, or were they all over the Accra, or where were you with the parties with this?
Different locations.
In the capital or
In
throughout the country?
Accra, and in Cape Coast.
Okay.
And also, I don't know the name. I can't remember the name, but there's a botanical garden up in the mountains. Um,
Aburi.
yeah,
Aburi.
Bowie. We
Yeah.
had we had an event there too, outside event
Okay, nice.
at the
Very
botanical
nice.
gardens. So we was, in different locations. I remember the last party was at the Sandbox. And I
Okay.
don't know if that's a crowd, but I know it was like maybe a half an hour ride.
Okay.
And there's pool. We had pool parties. We had beach parties. We had, that was a pool party. You see, one of the pool
Okay.
parties,
Okay.
um, and it was just, just having a good time, but enjoying ourselves, really appreciating being in Ghana, being in Africa, and
Hmm.
just having a ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thank you for sharing these pictures with us and giving us a chance to really dig it. Excuse me, the sound. I'm sorry. I have children here who okay, so now this is the where is this at?
This is, I think that's Kwame Nkrumah's museum. I think that's who it is. I can't.
That's the sound. I'm on live. You can hear this? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's Kwame Nkrumah's museum.
Okay. That so what else happened with the tour? So it was mostly focused around music. Was there any, did you guys get a chance to visit like, one of the local healers or shamans, or how did the spiritual aspect, how was that handled on the tour?
We didn't get a chance to visit any shamans. We did. We had a naming ceremony
Okay, nice.
um, in at the botanical garden, and there was a chief there. I can't remember the name of the group, but we all, well, not everybody, but people that wanted signed up and get their name changed. You know,
Oh wow. Oh,
um, um, all the spiritual things basically happened just by going to the wherever it was. Like we went to the Slave River, and that was very emotional. Um, we went to Slave River. We went to the two castles, the two, I keep calling them castles, the dungeons,
yes, sir.
um, and that was mainly where the spiritual aspect came. And this is funny, not funny, but This is deep. When we went to the Slave River, 5 buses. Everybody in the group came. We had to take off our shoes, walk down to the water, stay in the water for about maybe 10 minutes, and we walked back. By the time we all got on the buses, it poured down rain.
Wow.
Only for about 10 minutes, and then it went
Wow.
away. And there was no forecast of rain at all. you know,
Wow.
it was the ancestors. I guess
Yes, sir.
welcoming us or appreciating that we were there, whatever. So we were getting spiritual things like that, not necessarily with a shaman or a priest or priestess or whatever. It just happened, and
That
we
is
noticed.
so profound.
Yeah,
That story I have, my skin just stood up when you said it.
yeah,
Because earlier, right when you were joining us, we were talking about how when I go to the dungeon, I was taught, especially by Mama Imikis, make sure you go to the ocean and cleanse,
mm-hmm.
and to refresh your energy, because the dungeon can be heavy,
Right, right,
And
right.
so for that rain to come down after you guys were finished at the river,
Mm-hmm.
that was almost like saying, it, I don't know the exact words for that,
It
but
was a cleansing.
it makes your hair stand up.
Yeah, yeah.
That is we wouldn't have never known that had we not invited you on, and I'm so glad you had the
Wow.
time to share. That touched me. That the video itself is
Mm-hmm.
powerful,
Mm-hmm.
but you sharing that piece about the cleansing rain,
Right,
it's almost like it came just for you,
right.
and that is I don't know. They could call it magic. I don't know what we would call it,
It's the
but
ancestors. That's
yes,
what I
sir.
call it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's funny because a lot of events that we do, there's a lot of spirituality in house music that people don't realize. Um, we were we were on a cruise that this wasn't Sankofa Soul, but a lot of us from Sankofa Soul went on this cruise with a brother from Atlanta named Stan Zeff. He had a cruise to Cozumel, right? So we went on the cruise. We're leaving the cruise. It was a Sunday morning, about 11 o'clock. DJ Ceres, who is one of the group leaders for Sankofa Soul, he was playing, right? And all of a sudden, uh, the energy built up in the ship. It was just crazy, and it was just us in the room. It was no, um, the rest of the passengers on the ship weren't allowed. This is a private party, basically. So we're he's playing the music and we're dancing and having a good time, and all of a sudden, I started crying, and I'm like, what is this about? Maybe because Celeste is a real good friend of mine. He hasn't been playing for a real long time, and he's amongst these giant DJs, and he's turning it out, right? But that wasn't it. When he finished his set, everybody was crying. I was like, oh man. And what it was, I started thinking. I said, wait a minute. We're on a ship. We were off the coast of Cuba on our way back to Miami.
Ooh,
Off the coast
wow.
of Cuba in the transatlantic slave trade route, right? I said, that was the ancestors. That was the ancestors.
Wow.
So we've experienced that a couple of times. Just about every trip we had, we experienced some kind of phenomenon, I guess you could say.
Wow.
And it was always dealing with the ancestors. It was crazy. So that wasn't new to us. I mean, some of the people, everybody wasn't a house hit because some parents came or whatever, but the ones that knew, we knew what it was when it happened. When that rain came down, we looked at each other and said, wow.
Ooh wee.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That
Yeah.
right there, that's the ancestors, they just never cease to amaze me.
Right.
I just I know we have a picture. There's a picture coming up here somewhere of one that I shot inside the dungeon, looking out the door of no return.
Mm.
And every time I go in there, I have to take a moment and just say, "Man," but you didn't have the last word on that. So here we are.
Right. You're right. We're
here,
back.
here we are.
We're back. Yep.
And we do make a difference with the terminology too, just like the dungeon castle thing.
Right.
You know, you have the expat and the repat. And I like to, make sure people understand that that experience you guys had is what separates you from a regular tourist or
Right.
an expat. We're not expats, we're returning,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so there's a huge difference in what we're bringing and what we do and how we receive. It's just a completely different experience than a typical tour.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. And so have we, I think we had a couple more pictures. I want to go through them and get to a little bit of, and let me see what comments we have in the section two. Mr. Ricky. Okay, somebody said I want to go. Um, when was the last tour? The last tour that Mr. Hurdle was on was 2 weeks ago. You guys came back, correct?
No, it was a month ago. It was a month
Okay.
ago we left. We left on, actually, the staff left 2 days before the event. So we left on the 28th of February. The event
Okay.
actually started on the 2nd of February. It
Okay.
went from the 2nd to the 14th.
Okay. And then how long did you guys stay?
Um, did I say the 2nd of February? I meant the 2nd of March to the 14th of March.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was,
So
we
about
stayed
12 days.
we stayed 14 days. The
Okay.
regular participants stayed 12 days.
Okay. Okay. That's a nice, so myself, I can't turn around that fast in Ghana, but that's a whole backstory to that.
Yeah.
But hey, and then a lot of people asked too about the weather. So you guys arrived kind of during the harmattan, what they call the dry season.
Right. Right before the rainy season.
So the other piece to that is that rain that dropped on you for 10 minutes.
Right.
So knowing that you're in the middle of the dry part of because they don't have four seasons like in the US. They have two. You have rain and you have dry.
Right.
And so that rain that you experienced was basically in the middle of the dry season.
Yes.
Which makes it even, we could go deeper and deeper with that incident. Yeah.
Actually, the very last party we had at the Sandbox was basically rained out.
Wow.
And it was, again, there was no forecast of rain. We set up, we had dinner in the restaurant they had there, and there was a DJ playing there from Ghana. And then when our people came on, because they invited him in to play, and then when our people came on, we didn't get a chance to really play because it poured down.
Oh wow.
So we was like,
Oh
wow,
wow.
the ancestors again,
Wow. Wow. So yeah, that's an amazing story. Um, how did you guys find the accommodations in general while you were there? What would you compare to some of your other travels and and measuring them up against your Americanized sensibilities? How did you guys find the accommodations?
Okay, the first hotel we stayed at in Accra was the Movapic. And from what I understand, it's one of the best hotels in Ghana. It's a 5-star hotel. It was really nice. It was staffed by all us.
Hmm.
Um, it was top shelf. It was right down the street from Jubilee Hall,
Right.
maybe half a mile away.
Jubilee Hall is the kind of like the president's house for
Right, the
people who
presidential
know.
palace. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
that was really nice. But we knew ahead of time that the accommodations in Cape Coast weren't as nice um, as the Movapic.
Oh
But
yeah.
it was still nice. It was still nice.
Okay. Let's I want to pick up with that when we come back from a break, talking about the variation between Accra, Cape Coast, and let's dig into that just a little bit when we just
Okay.
give us a minute or two. We're gonna take a break.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Okay, thank you so much. We're back, and just want to talk a little bit about, because a lot of people, you got to get the geography a little bit. So Accra and Cape Coast are both along the Atlantic coastline, but Cape Coast is a little further west of the actual capital. And so it's a little different of a vibration out in Cape Coast, more rural, would you say?
Yes.
Mr. Okay. And so just give us just a little bit of your observations from going from Accra to the Cape Coast area.
Okay, Accra is the capital city.
Right.
To be honest, I was a little disappointed in the surroundings around the hotel and capital, the palace, the presidential palace and all of that, because these people don't have a lot, but they were so happy, so happy, so giving, so it was just amazing. I did a video. I took a video of this little girl. We were coming back from, I think it was Kwame Nkrumah's museum. I think it was. But we was coming back in the bus, and there was right now they have a problem with refugees from Niger, and a lot of them are in Accra with their families. And there was this little girl on the island in between, the traffic. And she was singing and dancing and just smiling, and she waved, and I smiled and waved, and it was just, I was like, she was barefoot, and it really made me realize how blessed we are. But a lot of us don't know it. A lot of us think, we need more, we need this, we need that. She didn't have anything, but she was singing, she was dancing, she was blowing bubbles, waving. I was like, wow, But that was the experience in the crowd as far as, and then there's a lot of vendors all over the place. I was shocked at how many vendors it was. And that wasn't even the marketplace. But then, like you said, Cape Coast is a little more. How did you put it? It wasn't a big city. It was a smaller city. But again, wherever we went, the people was just so happy, so joyous, so welcoming, so energetic, so humbling. Just I met a young brother in Cape Coast at one of the hotels. The last 2 days we were there, we had some vendors come in, and we had like a little bazaar in one of the hotels. And there was a young brother there, I think he was 15. he was trying to sell me something, and I really didn't have the funds, because I bought a lot of stuff, and they come at you, they come at you hard and heavy, but you just gotta, if I can, I will. If I can't, I'll tell them. And I told the brother, I said, I really don't have it right now, right? So he says, I'm gonna give you a bracelet. It was a Ghanaian bracelet. It was like a woven Ghanaian
Right,
bracelet. So
right.
I'll give you this bracelet so you just to remember me by. And I was like, wow. And he gave it to me. He didn't, he wanted money, but I really didn't have it. So we ended up connecting, and he's like my godson now. We communicate regularly.
I love it. You
Yeah,
will find that, and this is what's moving us. This podcast is from seed to systems. So right now we're really talking about the seeds of reconnection. That's the first basic step,
right, right.
but getting into the systems, you realize that through our reconnection, there's people. I keep talking about Mama Imik is so much to talk about with her in particular, but I'm pretty sure she's probably paid for about at least 40 children's educational.
Yeah, yeah,
She's definitely pushed dozens of youth through school
right,
as one person.
right.
So now you can multiply that by however many of us, even those of us like me who stay and live and who build homes there. But then you have other people maybe come visit once every 3 or 5 years. They're still in contact with people.
Right.
They're still building. They're still, staying in communication, still supporting people. And we have so many amazing stories of that. So I'm glad you guys were able to connect on that level. I want to talk a little bit, if we have a little more time, about your DJ. Your background. What's your DJ name?
Oh, I'm not a DJ. I'm just
Oh, I
part of the
thought you
group.
were a DJ.
I DJ'd years ago, but I stopped.
Okay. Because somebody in the comments keeps asking about Dwayne E. Powell, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is Ricky Hurdle. This is not Dwayne E. Powell. So
Dwayne, we had DJs from across the country. We had from Chicago, we had Dwayne Powell, we had Steve Maxwell. Um, I think that's the only two from Chicago. We had a brother named DJ Biscuit from Maryland. We had Ceres, Ian Friday, Mickey Affleck, all from New York. I might be leaving people out, but I'm trying to remember everybody. Another brother named Saeed from Maryland. Um, I can't remember everybody, but we had DJs from all across the country. So that's why they see pictures of Dwayne Powell.
that makes sense because the person asked about 4 times. So I'm like, please let me understand this DJ piece going
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They
So
saw they saw a picture of Dwayne Powell because he was one of the DJs.
okay, good. All right. And so I want to get through these pictures if we can um go ahead and finish that part up. That'll take us through the close.
Okay.
In the meantime, what about did you guys get a chance to deal any with the local music scene? They're heavily into reggae, high life, um, maybe jazz. I don't know.
We went to one club. It was in Accra. I don't remember the name of it. It was a bunch of different restaurants in one section, and they had a DJ playing, and they had like a big stage, and everybody was doing the same steps in this stage. So we got a chance to experience, a little bit of Accra, a little bit of Ghanaian, what they do for
Hmm.
their nightlife. But they also, especially the people that work the staff, the bus drivers, the tour guides, and all of that, got a taste of house music.
Good.
So we did an exchange, and they're loving the house music scene because it's
Oh
house
yeah.
music scene. Asada can tell you, house music scene is just extraordinary. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's
I
just
know
something.
for a fact that they like house music in Ghana. I've even heard one of the Afro beats performers in Ghana mix in some some Chicago, old school Chicago house behind one of his
Yeah.
songs. So I know for a fact that they listened to it. When I heard it, I was in a crowd. I was like, oh. So yeah. Okay. So who is this in this picture?
That's Steve Maxwell. That's Adrian. I can never pronounce her name. Adria, and me.
Oh
That was at
wow.
I think that was at the one of the. Oh, I think that was a Kente cloth because we had a Kente cloth brunch, which was the
Okay.
last meal we had at the Movapec before that was our last big meal and big meeting we had at the Movapec.
I noticed that you guys were, coordinated with your clothing, as we can see throughout. As you describe the event, you can see that, for example, when you guys visit the river, everybody was in white.
Right.
And so now you're talking about a kente, everybody, that's so African. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
This is how I know we're related.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, the spirit of house. Yes. And it's interesting too because my late husband was from Ghana. I met him here in Chicago, and at that time, uh, I've been deep into house music since I was a little girl,
Okay.
and so I'm listening to it and I'm grooving. He's just looking at me like, what is this music? So he goes, it's just, I don't get this music. It's like it's repetitive, and what's the point? Like, what is the story that it's telling? But at that time, the Chosen Few house picnic here in Chicago was kind of taking off. I
Mhm.
took him over there, and the spirit caught him. Let me just
Right.
tell you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he understood when he was in a group and he saw and felt
Right.
the
Right.
response of it, and then he also became a lover of house music too.
Right.
And he learned to appreciate it, So I know that I mean, we already know house music is international.
Yeah.
Um, and we could do a lot more with that. That's
Yeah.
that's a topic that takes us again from seed to systems when we want to talk about how we can work with house music to just engage commercially, economically, um, artistically, and in those types of ways. That's when we start moving closer from the seed to the systems of things.
Right.
This is what we're looking at right now. This is a image that I shot from the Cape Coast dungeon. I was standing at the top of it in one of the doorways for one of the rooms that the Europeans use for their dining hall or whatever. So I'm just standing in that room and I'm just looking out, and that's the shot that we're looking at now.
Right. Right.
Um, just every time you're there, it's a different. That's the Elmina dungeon, which you can see from the Cape Coast dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of people don't realize these the Elmina and the Cape Coast. One of them, I think, was the first structure kind of built that was geared towards basically, invasion
Right.
and stealing people in West Africa. A lot of people say it's the oldest in Africa. I'm not so sure if that's the case because based on Runako Rashidi's work in East Africa, he exposed the fact that there was unfortunately a lively trade on the other side of
Mm.
of the African coast that went into India and China, and they also have remnants in structures that were from those eras, and those might be even older. Not
Wow.
sure, but that's something that we need to do a lot more scholarship around because they had they don't have the same types of structures. They have a a stairway that just goes deep down into the earth and
Mm-hmm.
it's pitch black, and they would have the African people that they kidnapped or stole or whatever, they would have them descend into this darkness which was deep inside the earth. And some of those places are still in existence along the East Coast. So, I'm not sure if these are the oldest ones, but they did damage,
Right.
in their day. So, I really appreciate you coming on, Mr. Hurdle. I don't know if we're gonna take our second break anytime, or are we free to move on? So, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, how do you see this type of travel and engagement with house music? Where are we going from here with this? Where, like, now that we got all that emotional energy up, everybody comes back feeling really refreshed. Because I could tell you, the first time, for example, my daughter visited Ghana. She was a young girl. She came back and started a business. She saw all the energy and the just the vibration of the youth in Ghana, and she never said the words, but I knew that's what happened, because
Right.
she came right back to Chicago and started a whole candy stand, in front of the house, and just like, man, I saw these young women out, running their own businesses.
Mhm.
And at 12 years old, I'm also going to start too. And
Wow.
so I know for a fact that, you saw a lot of opportunities. I know for a fact that you weren't the only one. So I'm just interested in where the conversations are going in terms of, moving forward, even beyond, we're going to make some personal contact and maybe have a student or two that we like to keep in touch and support, or, vibe with and learn from, by back and forth,
Right.
but maybe we should approach the break. Let's get that out the way, and then when we come back, let's talk about the forward thinking in terms of where your inspiration is leading you, and the group from this moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
Okay, thank you for that Three Black Moms announcement. That's a real, like, just a real catchy and cool idea. Throughout history, we usually get male perspectives, on what women are doing, how they look, and what they're wearing, and just what their day-to-day lives are out. So I really appreciate the female solution for creating this platform to give women, more of an opportunity to share and to investigate, and to really bring our perspective to the world and be able to share it. That's kind of a new piece for a lot of us. We only used to listening to women from a certain type of perspective, and those things are changing. So the fact that we're able to host you here, Mr. Hurdle, I really appreciate the Female Solution, and Naima Latif for bringing this platform out, and all these amazing sisters on here who, for example, introduced us to you and gave us an opportunity to dig more into your experience in Ghana. And I'd like to kind of close us out with our vision, and going forward, how in the ways in which you guys were inspired and what we have to look forward to from that inspiration.
Well, one thing I was inspired to do, um, like I said, I met my godson, and that wasn't planned. It just happened, And we had a meeting at one of the events while we were in Cape Coast. We had a meeting with all 215 people.
Wow.
And what we talked about was one of the things we talked about was there's a school that one of the brothers, matter of fact, he's from Chicago, Timothy Triplett. I don't know if you know him.
Okay.
Timothy's been to Ghana. I think he went last year. And he met, I don't know the exact story, but I know he had something to do with one of the schools there. And when we went back, we brought we brought pencils and a bunch of school supplies and some clothes, T-shirts and whatever, right? And we gave them out to these kids. And at this meeting, they were telling us that it only takes between $700 to $800 a year to have a child go through school with his schooling, his housing, his clothing, his food, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided. I don't know how many people decided, but I know a lot of people decided to just give to this school to help, pick one or two kids or whatever, and just give monthly, because it then only came out to like $66 a month. I'm like, that's easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't really have any business ideas. I'm retired. I still work part-time, and I hustle a little bit, but I'm basically retired. And I didn't really think like about that part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about possibly um, getting dual citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still not sure about it. Matter of fact, when we get a chance, I'd like to talk to you in private to see,
Okay.
how that could work and what I could, because I feel like if I'm there and I'm not giving something, then what am I doing there? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Trust me, we all have to visit that visit that conversation,
Right.
And I know for a fact that just being there, even as a retiree, you start thinking about some of the things that you can contribute and push in a way that you have in your vision. So one of the things that you guys are doing with the schools is amazing. And you notice how confident I felt. I didn't know what you guys had done, but I'm like, I know they were inspired to do something, because
Right.
that's just what it does for you. You
Right.
start rethinking your life, you start becoming more grateful, and you start thinking about what you can do with what you have.
Right.
And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what it's about. So
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, appreciate you being here. Thank you to Mama Naima for creating this platform for us, for Sister Asada for connecting us. This house thing is, it's way more powerful than I think what we've given it credit for. I think we need some more scholarly research on this subject so that they can be more of a center of our conversations and of our parties. I think it would help the youth a lot. So I just appreciate you guys so much for bringing that energy to Ghana, vibing with it. And thank you for sharing these amazing stories with us.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
Yes. So thank you guys so much. From Seed to Systems, back to Africa and beyond, we are here. And hey, let's go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.